Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. This is Travis here at the Prepared Homestead. First of all, I want to thank everyone for watching. I know that times are getting crazy and tough and all kinds of just wild. But I want to thank my faithful listeners and for all the new listeners that are tuning in to watch this every time I post a video every day. Thank you very much for doing that. If you'd like to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it. I'd sure appreciate it. There's also in the description, there's lots of links there of different ways to connect with me, and also some places that you can go and do a little shopping for preparedness items, and a very small percentage of that gets kicked back to me. So if you'd interested, you're welcome to do so, but no pressure at all. So I've been talking a lot about what's just going on, and of course I'll continue to do that. But I want to talk about other things too, because, well, I'm kind of at the point, and I don't want to leave people out. Like, if you're just tuning into this and you're just starting to wake up and realize that, oh my goodness, I should have been prepping all along. I should have been getting myself prepared. Now what do I do? I don't want to leave you out. Because depending on your situation, depending on where you're at, you may have a little bit of time to do a little bit of preparation. The reality is, though, there's just about no more time left to do any real preparations for, to survive what is ahead of us. So, I don't want to discourage people. If you haven't done anything, certainly do everything that you can to push forward and try to become more prepared. You can go back and watch a lot of my videos in the past, over the past year. There's lots of videos there of the things that you can buy, the things that you can learn, skills, stuff like that, to be more prepared and to be more self-sufficient. But the reality is, the day has just about passed when where we're into that preparation mode. And for many of us, it's already come. For me, it's already come, really. Hold on, I got a stick kind of almost poking me. Get it out of my way. I mean, we're still doing things here, but the things that we're doing here on the property is just kind of normal homesteading type stuff. And for those of you wondering, because the scenery has changed in the last few videos, I am going to do a video talking about a little bit about where we're at. I'm not going to go into details that would give away my location or anything like that, so don't think I'm going to go that far. But I will release a video talking a little bit more about what's going on here. So the things that we're doing here is really just your normal kind of homesteading, prepping things that you do on an annual basis or seasonal basis. For instance, we're really getting into gardening mode because it's just that time of the year. And around here, we've been kind of held back a little bit because of the weather. It's been really rainy, really wet. Our property and where we're gardening and everything is kind of a bottomland, which is really good soil. I mean, it's got some amazing topsoil and very little rock in it, which is nearly unheard of in the Ozarks. The downside is it retains a lot of water. It takes a little longer to dry out. So it's been just really soupy wet. But today, in the last couple of days, it's sunny, it's breezy. It's actually kind of warm. I've been sweating out, mowing and cutting wood and doing just the things around the place. So the soil is almost to the point that I feel comfortable of really getting in and digging, and I'm putting in a new garden spot, so I'll be tilling that area. I don't like to do a lot of tilling, but when it's a breaking new ground, I usually till it up at least the first season, maybe two, and then after that I try to just compost the soil so that I'm not breaking ground every year. But in those areas I've been kind of held back because of the weather. You go out there and it's like you're walking on a sponge, and you're like, there's no way I can till this ground or do anything. So it's almost to the point. I'm hoping next week. They're calling for some rain, but I looked and nothing seems to be, the big heavy torrential downpour flooding rains. So I'm hoping and praying that it's just going to be a little rain here and there, but it's not going to really saturate the garden spot area. And then maybe by next week we can really start you know, getting the ground even more ready to get ready to start planting. Got a lot of plants that are ready to go in the ground, but like I said, I've been holding back because it's around here, it's been kind of like a swamp. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that you need to start getting your mindset. And the reason is, and I know that there's going to be some of you that probably differ from me in this opinion, and some of my opinion is just based on just my opinion. Some of it's based on my past experiences and work experiences, and some of it's based on some, I guess you would call it, intelligence from people that I happen to know that are in certain areas that know a little bit more than the average person, shall we say. And so you put it all together and you kind of come up with, you know, a good guesstimate of what's probably going on. I'm not buying in, and I think I'm going to make a Patreon video today also that goes into more detail of this. So I'll put that on Patreon. But I'm not really buying the whole line that all this is being done for that Trump or his side is doing that to tear down the deep state and to bring about this plentiful, you know, freedom of ridding the world of all the bad people and bringing us this, you know, prosperous freedom and winning against all the evil. And you know, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details on here, but I'm not buying that. I do think that, you know, let me say this first. Governments, not just ours, any government, they never let a good disaster go to waste, you know. They always take advantage of that. And I said, I think it was in my last video, that, you know, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And there is a lot of truth to that. And we are seeing a disaster, whether it's just happened, whether it's man-made, whether it's bioterrorism, whether it's, you know, released by certain powers, and none of that really matters at this point. And, you know, there's this argument, is the virus as bad as it is? Maybe it's not. There's definitely a lot of hype. The media is hyping this up. And it's probably not as bad as they're saying, maybe. But, you know, when you look at other countries, I think it's definitely bad enough. But as I've said since the beginning, the virus is probably the least of our worries. Governments, and especially our own, they do not let a good disaster go to waste. They're going to take this, and they're already doing it, and they're going to use this to further their totalitarian mindset. And I don't care how much a certain elected official or area of government or area of politics might claim to be more conservative, more freedom-loving, whatever. In the end, they are fighting for power. And we are seeing little by little, it's kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts. Little by little, more and more power is being taken and used. Things are being done just in the last couple of weeks that most of us would have never dreamed of them happening. And everyone's okay with it because it's all to protect us. It's all for the good of the community. It's all to stop the spread, to flatten the curve. And I'm all for that. But I'm not for it at the sake and at the destruction of our individual rights. And so you're probably wondering, how in the world does it go from gardening to this? I'll bring it back around real quick. So we're seeing that. We're seeing this happening. And as I plan on going into more detail on the Patreon video, I believe we're already in martial law. Maybe a soft disclosure, a soft martial law, but we're already there because there are certain things that are being done that under normal circumstances, and I know this isn't normal circumstances, but in an everyday life, the average American would say, absolutely not. We're not standing for the government telling us to do this or that we can't do this or whatever. So whether or not martial law has been declared and we're living in a legal sense under martial law, we are in that because of the amount of authority that has been taken and being used against us. So, bringing that back to, sorry, I got some allergy, apologize. Bringing that back to the gardening. Now more than ever, we need to be focusing on our self-sufficiency. Hopefully, over the past weeks, months, and preferably years, you have been preparing yourself for the things that could happen in life. Natural disasters, man-made disasters, wars, whatever it is. And I'm not talking just bug-out bags. You've been preparing yourself by learning and being able to possibly grow food, to harvest food, to forage, to hunt, to make things, to be more self-sufficient. Now more than ever, I think we're at a point that we have to really start putting action to that preparation. Now, for some of us, like myself, that kind of do the homesteading thing, you know, we kind of do that on, you know, every year anyways. But certainly even here, we are kicking it into high gear. You know, planning on growing more vegetables, more of everything. You know, we're expanding as much as we can, as fast as we can, because while we have done it in the past for our own sustainability, we always knew that there was the system to fall back on. You know, if we didn't grow enough food, yeah, we could go to the grocery store and buy stuff. Well, I fear that we're getting to the point that that's not going to happen anymore. And I don't come by that lightly, because we're seeing that all the time. We're seeing less and less on the shelves. We're seeing more and more restrictions. So the food supply is, in my last video, you can watch that one, it's falling apart. So we don't really have the American food supply system to fall back on really anymore. So you have to take things seriously when it comes to growing your own food, and that really should be your first step. Other than maybe securing your location, you know, if you're in a Manhattan or downtown Chicago apartment, I've said this before, I'm not poo-pooing that lifestyle, but it's going to be really difficult for you to be self-sufficient in a place like that. You know, you could, there is the option of moving out. You know, out here where I live, you can still buy 5, even 10 acres for very low amount of money. It's common to find it, you know, owner financing and stuff. You know, I've seen 5 acres for as little as $200 to $250 a month. And I know you're saying, well, yeah, but where would I live? How? You might be better off roughing it on bare land until you get something going than in a downtown Manhattan apartment. You know, look at what's going on in New York. I'm just saying, something to think about. But now more than ever, we've got to become very serious about our self-sufficiency. Raising animals, you know, doing things that require less and less dependence upon a system. And when I say that, I mean, you have to really start thinking of everything. You know, for instance, washing your clothes. Well, what are you going to use to wash your clothes with? What if you're not able to go get stuff? Or if going and getting this stuff puts you at risk of other things? Do you have a plan of how to wash your clothes without store-bought laundry detergent? Do you have a plan on how to wash your body without store-bought store-bought soap? Do you have plans on how to can things without continually being able to go to the store and buy the things that you need to preserve your food? These are some things that if you haven't thought of already, you really need to be thinking about it. In the last 24 hours, excuse me, in the last 24 hours, I've seen a few reports of stores like Walmart, Target, and other big stores restricting the sale of non-essential items, meaning that you're only allowed to purchase food and pharmaceutical items. the state of Vermont issued an executive order saying that no store is allowed to sell anything other than food and medicinals, pharmaceutical stuff. Meaning that, and they've shown pictures, I've seen it with my own eyes, the pictures where Walmart and Target and other stores like that are going in and they're blocking off the aisles of the rest of the store. And so you're not even able to buy that kind of stuff. Clothing, hardware, you know, gardening stuff, it's because it's considered non-essential now. Times are getting serious, folks. And if you're not taking this serious, you know, I'm sorry, but I really think that your survivability is going to be really low. And I hate to sound really hardcore and heartless, but you know, this channel is not to entertain necessarily. I mean, there is some entertainment, and it's not to put out soft, cushy, enjoyable messages all the time. You know, I try to put out the truth, and the truth is, if you're not planning on putting out food this year, you may run out. You can't live on your food preps forever. I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, but everything's going to be back to normal in 30 days. Don't think so. Wisconsin, yesterday I read in the news, Wisconsin, which I believe is either the #1 or maybe #2 largest milk producer in the United States, is now dumping 25,000 gallons of milk every day. Every day they're dumping it because they claim there's no longer a market to sell their milk because of all the shutdowns. Well, I could see that to be true to some extent. The 25,000 gallons every day, I have a feeling there's something else going on to cause them that. I remember reading last year, it was either in 2018 or 2019, that the USDA reported that 1,200 dairy farms closed down in 1 year, 1,200. So we have all these dairy farms closed down. Now they're dumping 25,000 gallons of milk every day just in one state. The information that I released in my last video of food distribution warehouses for grocery stores setting empty, ports of entry, you know, setting empty, LA, New York, different ports where there's nothing coming in. Folks, this is more than just stay at home for a couple of weeks until the virus cools off. This is some big stuff, and we're gonna feel this probably for the rest of our lives, if not longer. I remember, I'm gonna kind of end with this. Back when this started here in America, you know, I've been following this since, you know, way back when China first started talking about it. But when our own government here in the US first started talking about this, there were several people. One was the Department of Homeland Security director. Another one was someone with the CDC. And there was someone else in the White House. Within a few day period of time, all said pretty much the same thing. And let me paraphrase what they said. When this is all over, this being the virus, it will change America as we know it. And folks, I think we should hear that for what they probably really meant. It's really gonna change America. And we have to do more and more. Whatever you're doing, push yourself a little bit more to be more self-sufficient in the things that you do. That's what we are doing here. Our whole family is on board. We are all pushing it because we know that whatever we do to take care of ourselves, that truly could be our survival. And we may have reached a point in our lifetimes that it is actually happening, that the food that you grow will be maybe some of the only food that you can get to. So folks, take it serious and push yourselves, starting now if you haven't already, to be more self-sufficient. Get more food in the ground. Do the things that you need to do. Start planning, not just for the next 2 weeks or 30 days, but for the next year or two of what you're going to do to take care of yourself and your family. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.